Well, good evening, Sigma race fans. Coming at you here for race 42 of 42 in the 2025 Sigma Cup Championship. And we already know, rolling into the championship here, that Braden DeBlank is our points leader. And he's going to get some bonus points here today, this afternoon, starting on the pole. So that helps significantly with the bonus points that would get tied down here today. Bonus points for setting on the pole is going to help DeBlank in his championship route. Starting alongside him, he's got Rich Roy in the number 71. Next in line, closest for that title, you got Dalton Scott starting just the next row back of your points leader, Braden DeBlank, and Cooper Dwight alongside of him. Kevin Xavier came through the sprint qualifier last night to make the main field here today, starting alongside Maggie Reams, Taden Berggren, and Eli the Wolf. The LFG Motorsports teammates of Ewan Wood Army and Chaz Chadwick. Al Bunch starting roughly mid-pack here alongside Lynn Farrell, Tom Cording and Bradley Ream, Carson Bowers and Kellen Relic, Chris Harvey and Tyler Shangle, Nate Newman and Wyatt Wilkinson, followed by James Fireball Robert and Jimmy Logano, Tristan Reams and John Hagan, Gannon Bird and Lucas Holmes. Starting deep, title contender here, Braden Varga starting here outside the top 30, it looks like. Could get a hard charge reward. He's kind of in a must-win scenario to get the title anyways, so starting at the back could be a good sign to get max points here tonight alongside Jacob Shangle. Tyler Landa and Kara Shangle, Bella Fawn and Trevor Walker, Andre Stefan and Jack Ross, Tasha Wright and Jordan Walker, Tyler Aspinall and Cam Jordan, Louis Trost and Monty Shangle, with Guido Piano and Matthew Fastnot starting at the very, very back. It's a long race here tonight, folks. 550 miles here at Indianapolis, 220 laps. So we're locked in for the long haul. First time in almost a decade. Feels like a decade. It's not really been that long. Since I want to say 2015, though. That's about the last time we've seen 4 drivers with a shot at the title here in Indianapolis. So could we see fireworks here today at Indy? The track that most drivers would love to have their name on the trophy. It's going to be a big one here as it's come down to the final 4 of Dalton Scott, Braden DeBlank, Al Bunch, and Braden Varga. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful Saturday morning on the East Coast. Welcome to noontime. Pace car's off and we're getting ready and rolling. I'll try to give the best play-by-play for 220 laps around the Brickyard here today. Braden DeBlank starting on the pole. This could be huge. If he can stay up front, lead most laps, that'll be bonus points that the rest of the contenders won't have a chance to lock down. The magic number, of course, will be 110 once we get to lap 110. Whoever has the most laps led at that point might have a good shot at tying down the lead most lap bonus at the end of the day. And it's crazy how it all pans out here already early on. Top 2 in the points, running 1-2 on the field. Dalton Scott right there behind DeBlank. He's got the closest route to victory. But even with Braden DeBlank's lead, he's going to need DeBlank to have at least a 15th or worse on a winning day for Dalton Scott. So DeBlank gets the lead lap bonus as well. So he's already got pole. And at this point, if you're DeBlank, I would probably just sit back. It's like, you've got about 15 spots to play with here. There's no reason to, risk it for the biscuit right now. Get that lead lap, get the bonus points for leading a lap. obviously he's got the pole position bonus, so that's already about 10 bonus points that he will end the day with, regardless of where he finishes. I remember we put up a potential what-if scenario, whereas if Brian DeBlank even has a bad day here, gets 20 points, well, he's already halfway there with 10 points. The worst he'd have to finish to pretty much secure this is 15th. If he's in the top 15, the title's all his. With a Dalton Scott win, obviously. Well, actually, I gotta go back. DeBlank's best is top 10, so he's got to stay in the top 10 with the Dalton Scott leading potential for max points day. If Dalton Scott wins and Brian DeBlank finishes 9th or better, he will pretty much hold the title throughout the night. Al Bunch is going to have the hardest road ahead. He's going to need a win and a lot of bad luck to fall against his competitors here today. He's the underdog, rolling in 186 points out of it. He would have to have Brian DeBlank finish 26th or worst, and a few of the other drivers to finish. Well, he'd have to have Braden Varga finish 19th, and he'd have to have Dalton Scott finish 10th with an Al Bunch win. So that definitely puts into perspective how hard this title is going to get for Mr. Bunch, the defending champion of the Sigma Cup. This is a kind of a big moment. This kind of caps off our 15th anniversary this year. 15 years strong and rolling, and it's the first season under the full Sigma banner. Last year we were still considered the Sylvania Cup up until the conclusion of that season. So it's always nice to see the transition and how well it's been received this year. Someone, for the first time, will be a Sigma Cup champion, not just a Sylvania Cup champion. And that'll be a badge of honor worn loud and proud. This race used to be pretty problematic. Used to be a lot of cautions, a lot of wrecks. Last 2 years, though, as an indicator, have been a lot more tame. And I think even last year we went pretty much caution-free for most of it. So the drivers in the field are going to be in it for the long haul. Strategies will start to factor in. You'll see fuel numbers maybe become a factor. At 220 laps here today, it's all about making the right moves at the right time. We have Brian DeBlank dropping back another spot here, possibly. 41 of Cooper Dwight. He doesn't want to end this season winless. His rookie campaign here in the Sigma Cup Series, he's shown some strength and had some good races, but has not yet landed it in victory lane. What could be crazy here today is Dalton Scott, with 8 wins on the season, may very well come up short in the title hunt and would have the most wins on the season, regardless of most scenarios panning out here. Now, the one thing for Dalton is leading most laps here would secure something closer to max points. Max points are, however, unachievable for Dalton Scott since Brian DeBlank took the pole position. So the best that Dalton will be able to get is 212 points. Since pole position is pretty much worth 10 points at the double point bracket that we're running in, Dalton Scott is losing out on 10 points here today, so that definitely adjusts the intervals on potential for max points. The other side of that, hard charger award could still go to someone if they were able to move through the field and win this race. Say someone like Braden Varga. He could max point his way here today. It would require him to charge through the field and also somehow secure lead most laps in the race. So it's early in this one. You never know what strategies might happen. You might see a caution early here. Some people decide to stay out while others pit. It could transition the number 9 of Braden Varga back up to the front. So while we're watching the front field here, let's stick with the camera, actually. My bad. It looks like a battle's starting to develop in the top 4. Brian DeBlank got really close to the back bumper of the 15 and then lost some ground. The 41 really pushing the pressure there on the 85. Kind of crazy that they're putting on that much pressure early in the race on lap 10. Well, Brian DeBlank seems to have bounced back there pretty readily. So let us go find our other title contenders here and jump back to the back of the field. See how Braden Varga's doing. Currently, Varga running in 21st. It looks like he's probably gained about 8 spots since the start of the race. He's got his work cut out for him. It's definitely a promising sign, having to start as deep back as he did here today, that he could get max points. He had started deep in the field at Talladega too, so qualifying has not been his strong suit here in the title hunt, but running strong during the race is very prominent. Jimmy Logano, he may very well secure a charter for next year with the way he's been running. Should be in the top 30 in points and would lock himself into a full-time gig next year with a chartered ride. You got the 42 there of Bellafon. This seat is going to open up for next year. Trying to figure out who might fill the number 42 for Burnt Money Racing. Team owner Taden Berggren. He's the pilot of the number 43 car, so we might see a new face in the Cup side of things for this 42. It is chartered based on the success from Bellafon this year, but Bellafon has not been as interested in continuing on here in the Cup Series, so we'll go ahead and find a new driver to fill the seat. Got Wyatt Wilkinson there in the number 19. This is the last race he's going to run for Project Roar, and then he'll be transitioning over to an LFG Motorsports full-time ride in 2026. Currently 33rd here today. He's going to be learning the ropes here at Indy. Jack Ross dead end on the field right now. So yeah, right now Dalton Scott leading the way over Brian DeBlank, Cooper Dwight, and Kevin Xavier. So quite a few rookies represented here in the top 5. Cooper Dwight, this is his first full foray into the Sigma Cup Series. Kevin Xavier made some starts last year, but is still classified as a pretty much a fresh rookie. But they're looking to try and get one of their best career finishes. Kevin Xavier has definitely struggled in that number 14. Cooper Dwight has been close. His teammate in the number 40 got a win earlier this season in Carson Bowers. So Cooper Dwight wants to make it 2 for 2. That was a little bit close for comfort there, the number 1 and the 14. Let's just get a quick replay on that. That looked like almost contact. Oh, there wasn't. But definitely the untrained eye, that could have been that could have been contact. And that's going to open up the charge from Al Bunch in the number 81, getting in there alongside the 43 of Berggren. Well, there is going to possibly be a point where we're running 1, 2, 3 with our title contenders. Al Bunch making some moves. The only other one not in the mix is the number 9 of Braden Varga, who's a little bit deeper in the field. But do not count him out, as he will likely make up some spots on strategy calls here today. Fastest lap in the race so far belongs to the number 1 of You and What Army. We're seeing that in the form of his racing line is very aggressive here. And he's trying to get around the 14, and he's been trying to do it for the last couple laps. He's got the speed, but making the pass is often the harder thing to do. He's still hounding the back of that 14, trying to make the move. Maybe he's going to have an opportunity down the stretch here. Well, let's take another check back on our other title contender, 9 of Braden Varga. Hasn't made up a lot of spots. Actually looks like he's fighting with the drivers that were running behind him. So he went from 20th back to 22nd, it looks like. 23rd. This is a secondary group that has lost touch with the lead draft. The lead draft is roughly about 20 cars strong. They're not too far off this lead group here. Oh, and there we go. Al Bunch getting around the 14 of Kevin Xavier. And like I was saying, for Al Bunch, simply winning the race is not going to be enough here today. He is in a must-win scenario. But at the same time, he's going to need a grenade to go off in his competitor's engine bay. All 3 of his competitors, he's going to need them to finish very much outside of the top 20. And Al Bunch would not be the kind to go out there and take out his contenders, but it is for the the championship title after all, so who knows? You never know. Once you get in the heat of the moment of the race, there's no telling what would play out. Al Bunch, he might not waste any time trying to get around this number 1 as the top 3 are starting to drive away from him. So Braden Varga is your Rookie of the Year winner here in 2025, and obviously still alive in the title hunt by, marginal chance. Al Bunch losing a little bit of ground to Ewan What Army there. Ewan What Army has one of the best records when it comes to Indianapolis. We reference back to the stat log here. Ewan What Army's average is an average finish of 9th. He's had 2 starts, and his best finish was a 3rd, which I believe came in 2023. So when you do the math, his other finish was about roughly a 12th, I'd say. So maybe 15th. Been about a 15th, because that'd be 18 divided by 2. So he's finished in the top 15 both trips to Indianapolis here. Definitely an up and rising star of the Sigma Cup Series. He hasn't hit the championship lottery yet. Was close the first year that he attempted, racing against Atlee Weiss. Atlee Weiss took the Rookie of the Year honors away from Ewan What Army and the championship title. So talk about a double whammy there. That first rookie year for a lot of drivers, that's pivotal. And we're seeing it here this year with Braden Varga, his first true rookie season, and he's in the mix for a championship first year out. So next year it's going to be Jimmy Logano is definitely going to be one of our rookie contenders. Keep an eye out on. And the crazy part is, too, the guy that's leading this race, he's going to retire at the end of the year. Dalton Scott, who has been in it since 2010, he will retire at the season's end. He's had a storybook season to this point. It has been his best season in his career. He's never had 8 wins before. He's racing up front here tonight looking for potentially race win number 9. And he's just knocking on the door of that title with a little bit of misfortune to his competitors. It could be Dalton Scott's championship here, and it would become only the first driver to ever get 2 titles in the Sigma Cup Series. That is another wild stat that we've developed over all the years, is that there's never been a repeat champion yet. Now, it's going to happen one of these years. Eventually, we will have a driver get their 2nd title, especially with Al Bunch being in the mix each year like this. It's a matter of time before Al Bunch becomes a 2-time champion. But how fitting would that be for Dalton Scott, starting the campaign back in 2010 when we were the Sylvania Cup Series, the very first champion, and in the 15th anniversary of Sigma Cup, the potential for it to kind of bookend his career. 194 laps is still a lot of racing to go. He's definitely doing what he must here, try to lead most laps, get the bonus points in his pocket. And here's Brian DeBlank under attack for 2nd place. That's going to allow Al Bunch to get alongside the 1 of What Army. That little hiccup caused a bit of a traffic delay there, as What Army's moving his way up to 3rd. Cooper Dwight attempted to make the pass, and he's going to pay the ultimate price here and fall backwards. Man, if we go caution free again here at Indy, that would be absurd for one. Of all things, Indianapolis should have at least a kind of a minor big one or something to kind of keep the flow of the race flowing. But if we look back at last year, Atlee Weiss won the race, and it was back-to-back wins for Atlee Weiss. We had 3 cautions. So there's still a high chance that we could get a caution here today. We haven't gone caution-free. I thought we did last year. It just was a long green flag run to start the race. And it was 3 the year prior with Atlee Weiss winning that one too. So at least there's some consistency when we come to Indianapolis for the last couple years. Back in 2022, there was 4 cautions. Five cautions back in 2021. Holy cow, 10 cautions back in 2020. That was a wild year. So far we know that the record here is 10 cautions back in 2020. 8 cautions in 2019. Three cautions back in 2018. I feel like a lot of it has to do with the best of the best showing up here at the end of the year. We haven't seen as many cautions when it comes to the best of the best racing it out. There was 6 cautions back in 2017. Three cautions back in 2016. Oh, there we go. There's the new record. 14 cautions back in 2015. So it can happen. We could go way off the rails here today. There's no telling if this is just the calm before the storm. You know, cautions breed cautions. Eventually, things will get out of control. 14 of them back in 2015. That's wild. Four in 2013. Oh, here we go. Al Bunch and Ewan What Army getting there. Good push alongside Brian DeBlank. DeBlank under attack. He's going to lose the spot to What Army. Al Bunch thinking about it. He's trying to find the line to run. He's going to stay high and keep the draft with the 85. Try to push the 85 on the outside of the 1. Is he going to try to force it 3 wide into turn 1? It was best not to, because that could have been problematic. There he goes. He's going to get around Brian DeBlank. DeBlank falls back to 4th. So yeah, the record here at Indianapolis for cautions during a race was 14 back in 2015. The way things are kind of settled in right now, it's not looking like we're going to see 14 cautions here today, but you never know. You never know. So Al Bunch up to 3rd, DeBlank back to 4th. We know that DeBlank has to maintain a top 9 finish here today. He's still got a lot of bargaining chips falling into 4th there. Tom Cording trying to move through the field. This could be a good sign for Braden Varga. His team owner, Team Cars moving up. Braden Varga in the KBM number 9. Courting here in the KBM number 50. Bradley Ream. Man, it was a season capable of taking Rookie of the Year honors, but Braden Varga really dialed it up to 11 here at the end of the year. So Bradley Ream just falls a bit short, and nothing to be ashamed about. I mean, he had a win this season, won earlier in the year at the Daytona 500, and here he is closing out the season at the Brickyard for the Indy 550, and his career looking brighter than ever. He's going to be switching over to his own personal team with Railfan Motorsports. He'll switch from Toyota to Dodge. And so, yeah, lots to look forward to for this young Sigma Cup talent. Brian DeBlank taking a stab at Al Bunch there. And that forced Tom Courting high. That's going to give the 78 a run on the inside here. Going to try to do a through the field here, as we were already partially through the top 10. Back now running in 7th, you've got the 41 of Cooper Dwight, who was up front there for a moment, and now he's dropping backwards. Taden Berggren in the 43, Carson Bowers in the 40, and Kevin Xavier in the 14. That's your top 10. From the front row, Rich Roy has already dropped back to 11th here, showing that he had the one-lap pace, but maybe not the full race pace in that 71 Chevrolet for Roy Incorporated. Maggie Reams in the 34, running in 12th. Tristan Reams, husband-wife there, 12th and 13th. Jimmy Logano is on the move. He's making moves quicker than Braden Varga is. He's already up to 15th here. James Fireball Robert, actually, Fireball here is in 15th. Jimmy Logano's up to 14th. Jimmy Logano's going to try to take 13th. His lap time's definitely looking stout here. Chaz Chadwick running in 16th. Nate Newman, Louis Trost, and Braden Varga. Varga's still holding in that top 20 zone. Maybe they're gonna take a stab at the setup here today, in the first round of pit stops. Try and get that car dialed in. You got Belafon, Tasha Wright, Tyler Shangle, Kellen Relic, Chris Harvey, and Jacob Shangle, your top 25. Then it's Lucas Holmes, Wyatt Wilkinson, John Hagan, Cam Jordan, Lynn Farrell, Monty Shangle, Matthew Fastnot, Andre Stefan, Jordan Walker, Carrot Shangle, Gannon Bird, Tyler Landa, Trevor Walker, Tyler Aspinall, Guido Piano, Jack Ross, and wow, Eli the Wolf just made a pit stop. So our first round of, nope, my bad, fuel system error on the number 94. Seems like a scheduled pit stop because those pit stops are going to be happening here shortly. Yeah, there you go. Kind of the best time to get a mechanical failure is right when the fuel window opens up. Al Bunch on the undercut. He came in first of your championship 4. Looks like Braden Varga's also in, so 2 of your championship 4 on the undercut here. And the rest of the contenders coming in a lap later, so not much of an advantage. Our fuel window puts us at lap 38, basically. If this thing stays green for the whole duration, you'll be looking at about a 5-stop race from here. That would get you to lap 228. What that does not do is buy these drivers much of a window for green-white checkers, if there is a green-white checkers on tap here today. Go ahead and activate green-white checkers just in case we need it here. Not always the case, but you never know. And with that undercut strategy, it looks like Al Bunch is actually going to come out in front of Dalton Scott. So undercut strategy worked to perfection here. Dalton went from leading this race, and it's going to drop him back to 4th. Ewan What Army, the fastest car here today so far, gets the lead. Wow, and Al Bunch jumps to the lead here. So now we know Dalton Scott has led most laps so far in this point, but Al Bunch jumps to the front now, could potentially start racking up laps led here and try to secure those bonus points that he definitely needs. Oh, What Army might put up a fight here. Those two are not going to let this go by without a fight. Still, no cautions here today. We've got first round of green flag pit stops that shook up the running order. 3rd place, it's Tom Cording. 4th place, Cooper Dwight. 5th place, Dalton Scott. Dalton went from leading, falling back to 5th here. Brian DeBlank has fallen back to 7th, getting a little bit further from the ideal position here in the running lineup. He does not want to finish 9th here today. But with an Al Bunch lead, that definitely does not sting as bad. Getting a little bit rowdy for race positions there. You saw the battle between the 40 and the 78. It looked like it was going to get physical there. So how did Braden Varga fare in the first round of pit stops? Well, not bad. He's made it up to 18th. And has some relatively clear track ahead of him. He's not as packed in with the traffic that he was earlier. So Braden doesn't have to worry about Al Bunch at all. He could win this race and have Al Bunch finish 2nd. He's already ahead of Al Bunch significantly. So his title conversation comes down to how Brian DeBlank and Dalton Scott do today. He's going to have to beat Dalton Scott by about 6 spots and obviously beat Brian DeBlank by about 15 spots. Yeah, Brian DeBlank running in 6th. Dalton Scott in 5th. One thing that most people don't realize is 220 laps here at Indy is very demanding on the cars. We've seen so many mechanical failures here over the years. Back in 2015, actually go further back, 2014, Jacob Schenkel had a championship title under his belt up until the point where he blew an engine. And he was up front leading the race, doing everything he needed to do to get the title, and ended up with mechanical failure to eliminate him from the title. So, not trying to jinx anyone here, but that's always a factor, and you can never rule it out here at Indianapolis. To put it into perspective, the speeds that they're getting up to going into the turns, they're getting up to 202 miles an hour before letting off the throttle to make that first-hand turn. And then even the backstretch, I think they get up a little higher just by the sheer unique design of Indianapolis as they come roaring down the backstretch. Well, he got up to 201 that time as he was trying to make the pass. It might be better to look at the leader who has clear traffic ahead of him. So we'll keep an eye on Al Bunch on this lap here. Keep an eye on the telemetry and see how fast he's getting as he comes roaring down the front stretch heading into turn 1. He's only up to 197 that time. So without the draft, you're definitely a little bit slower. We were looking at Ewan What Army, who had the draft to work with and allowed him to get a little bit faster there. And yet What Army also is the fastest car here today, having turned the fastest lap so far. Yeah, 196 for Al Bunch. So leader up front maybe saving his stuff a little bit, not trying to use up all the tires, use up all the fuel that he just got, saving it a little bit. The longer you can save your stuff, the better it'll be on the long run. For Brian DeBlank, this might be the best case scenario, kind of hovering in the background, stay out of trouble. If you're up front fighting for the win, there's no telling how aggressive things might get. Yeah, so alone with Brian DeBlank actually getting the 10 bonus points for pole position here today, that makes max points at 212 for the winner. And so Dalton Scott actually gains a bit more of a buffer. Well, Brian DeBlank, in other words, gains a bit more of a buffer. Dalton Scott's got to climb over, and that means that Brian DeBlank just has to finish 11th or better. That 9th or better changes a little bit. Braden Varga will need to win it, lead most laps, and have DeBlank finish 20th or worse. And then for Al Bunch, he's just going to need Brian DeBlank to finish outside the top 30, but for the most part. So yeah, Dalton Scott with 8 wins this season. Al Bunch has 6. Al Bunch could secure win number 7 here and that would still leave Dalton Scott with the most wins on the season. If Braden Varga was able to find his way up to the front, fight for the win here today, he could be looking down win number 8 and tie with Dalton Scott for the most wins on 2025. Tom Cording makes a move, gets around Dalton Scott there. Dalton Scott dealing with some traffic here, as that's going to put Cooper Dwight alongside of him. And you and What Army still hanging around like a bee buzzing around the honey pot. So big topic of this year has been Cording Brothers Motorsports and their ability to put everyone in victory lane this year. For Tom Cording, you had him get to victory lane a couple times this season. Actually, my bad. Only once. Still went to victory. Other teammates included the 90 of Tasha, who had a big stretch there, winning back-to-back races, including this year's Music Fest Grand Prix. She got her first career win at Gateway and then had the momentum riding high into Nashville to take 2 wins in a row right at the end of the year here. James Fireball Robert, he's a 3-time winner this year and even the Sigma All-Star champion. So we had the All-Star race at Moses Lake Motorplex, the first ever home of Sigma Racing, and Fireball Robert took the cake. Well, his other wins have come, one of them at Lakeside, one of them at Daytona, which was a very oddball situation. Him and the other racer, Brian DeBlank, who finished second, ran out of gas and did not complete the lap, and they both got docked 25 points for cutting the race course short. So that's a big no-no. If you're gonna cut the racetrack short after taking the white flag and pull it down pit road on the checkered flag, penalties are handed out. And then his other win was at Watkins Glen. So 2 road course wins and 1 super speedway win for James Fireball Robert. And of course that leaves us with the last KBM entry of Braden Varga, who has been the stoutest rookie contender this year, 7 wins strong. It's not really been a dominant season, but he's mixed it in with 7 wins, obviously. So when he's hot, and when he's not, he's not. Some of the wins that he had have been huge wins, too. He had Homestead, Miami as his first career win. Oh, and as I'm going through the list, I take a moment here to focus on the racing on track. Tom Cording gets there alongside Al Bunch and takes the lead away from Mr. Bunch. So KBM top in the charts again, as we're doing a kind of a regroup of the season they've had so far. Tom Cording looking for that second win this year. He's taken the lead away from Al Bunch. He's taken laps led away as well. But back to Braden Varga. That first career win came at Homestead. His second career win came at North Wilkesboro. Definitely a feel-good win at a historic track such as North Wilkesboro. Then a crown jewel winner in Las Vegas for the 777 annual. His third career win came at Las Vegas. That's a big one. Darlington for the Southern 500, another crown jewel event. He took 2 crown jewel events this year. Very hard to take 1, let alone 2. Rockingham, New Hampshire, and Talladega, the last of those wins that he had secured. So we've got our first mechanical failure here today. It looks like the 51 of Tristan Reams with a blown engine. He was running up in 17th. So that goes to show you anything can happen here. 51 unfortunately had a top 20 run going here today, and it's all for naught. Braden Varga up to 14th. Brian DeBlank falls back to 7th. Had a couple blown engines there. The 7 of Tyler Landa also drops out with a piston failure. The 51 a header. So this also starts to change the dynamics a little bit. DeBlank, he can no longer finish worse than 40th. 40th is the worst he can finish now. Dalton Scott jumps back to the top of the charts as DeBlank slowly starts falling backwards. And Dalton Scott takes the top spot again. DeBlank, all he's got to do is hold on to a top 11 with the newfound bonus point situation. Dalton Scott's trying to hold off Tom Cording. Tom Cording gives him a bump there. Al Bunch also on the back. These guys are putting it on the line right now. So now it is Dalton Scott leading Al Bunch, Ewan Wood Army, and Tom Cording as things kind of got shuffled up there. Cooper Dwight in 5th. Eli the Wolf gone a lap down. Carson Bowers, oh wow, how did I jump all the way there? So we went from Cooper Dwight to Bradley Ream, Brian DeBlank. Rich Roy, Carson Bowers, and Taden Berger in your top 10. Jimmy Logano in 11th, but he is gaining quickly, moving through the field here. Braden Varga as well, another one of those drivers making some moves and getting through the field. Man, it's crazy to think that we've been caution-free since the start here in this race. It's blown by quickly as we're already 61 laps strong. For Al Bunch, he would have to take matters into his own hands here, find a way to get the other contenders to fall way back. Well, another crazy side note here today is the fact that we're going to see a new winner for the first time in the past 3 years. Atlee Weiss took the win here at Indianapolis in 2023 and 2024. He got to do the true Peyton Manning-esque walk off into the sunset, close out his chapter of the Sigma Cup Series by winning in his final start. And Dalton Scott maybe potentially looking to one-up that on Atlee Weiss to possibly close out his career with a win and even a title, which is still very much up for grabs here. Not very often do you see someone in their final swan song season go on a tear like Dalton Scott did. I mean, you look at drivers like Rusty Wallace or Kevin Harvick. Usually their final year, they make a big fanfare about it, but they're lucky if they can get to victory lane for the most part. Because at that point, it's usually, yeah, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily washed up, but just at the end of the career, kind of take the victory lap for your final season and just enjoy the sights and the scenes. Not Dalton. Dalton, on the other hand, he decided to approach this season with vigor and knew that this was his last chance to leave an impression on the Sigma Cup Series when you've got the likes of Al Bunch running right there behind him, who had stacked the wins up in his favor. He was hunting Dalton Scott down to try and take over that position in the all-time wins list. Well, Dalton is probably only going to extend his position in the top 5 of the all-time wins list for another year, since Al Bunch will likely topple that record in the next 2 years. But it's still impressive to see one of the OGs from 2010 still has what it takes to win races and potentially a championship. 66 laps in, no cautions. This has got to be the grueling part for these drivers, not knowing when they have a chance to take a mental break on the racetrack. You know, it's tough enough to go 500 miles around Indianapolis. Throw these guys out there for 550 laps, good luck. So we're looking at about a 3-hour race duration here, as we're roughly going at about a 200 mile an hour, actually 177 mile an hour race pace right now. Potentially looking to set the all-time quickest race at Indianapolis at 550 miles, since we've had at least a caution in every race that we've run here in the 550 mile duration length. Well, let us do another through the field here presented by Dubby. Dalton Scott, Al Bunch, Ewan Watermy, and Tom Cording, your top 4. Fifth is Cooper Dwight. And you've got Bradley Ream and Brian DeBlank, 6th and 7th. Rich Roy, Taden Bergeron, and Carson Bowers, your top 10. Jimmy Logano up to 11th. Nate Newman, 12th. Braden Varga, 13th. Maggie Reams, 14th. And James Fireball Robert in 15th. LFG Motorsports sitting in 16th and 17th with Chaz Chadwick and Kevin Xavier. Bella Fawn in 18th. Tasha Wright, 19th. Jacob Schengle and his brother Tyler Schengle, 20th and 21st. Lewis Trost trying to get it figured out. It's been a rough campaign for the 29 team after being to victory lane the last couple years. This year has not been as promising. maybe trying to get things ironed out, as a owner-driver situation often presents itself with some struggles. But Louis Tross still running solid mid-pack here today. Kellen Relic, Wyatt Wilkinson, John Hagan, Cam Jordan. Jack Ross is a lap down in 40th, right there alongside 27th place Chris Harvey. Lucas Holmes, Andre Stefan, Kara Shangle, Monty Shangle, Gannon Bird, Jordan Walker, Lynn Farrell, Trevor Walker, Tyler Aspinall, Guido Piano, Matthew Fastnot. That's all your drivers left on the lead lap right now. Dalton Scott definitely putting up a bid here for led most laps today. If we look at the over-under, he's led 49 laps so far. It's a good margin of laps led already. Brian DeBlank with his 1 lap led, that is probably pivotal. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, NR2003, it's not like the game knows that the championship is on the line here today. But when you had Brian DeBlank, who, let's go back and look at his pole position stat this year. Mr. DeBlank, who's had 4 poles, finds a way to get a pole in the final race of the year. Let's look even deeper at where those pole positions were. Brands Hatch, which was a road course. Riverside, which was a road course. Daytona, which is obviously a super speedway. And Lakeside, which is a road course. So in a way, you can look at Indianapolis as a true super speedway. Seems like DeBlank's got it figured out on super speedway qualifying package and the road course qualifying package. Taking that top spot here today, keeping that 10-point bonus away from Dalton Scott is huge. Yeah, Ewan What Army running in 3rd here. He's looking to try and up that average finish result here at Indianapolis even better than what it's been. 94 of Eli the Wolf. He is kind of disintegrating here today, having to make another pit stop. And usually these races don't get too wild until about the halfway point, so this truly is the calm before the storm. Nothing really matters at the moment until once we get later into the race where it all matters. I'll definitely have updates on the truck title soon. I'm not sure when. Trucks was the one that I kind of ran out of steam here at the end of the year, and everything was kind of pointing towards a lackluster championship push in the USA Trucks title, with a few drivers that have just dominated this year. So I can tell you, for one, every race in the top final 10 races of the chase, the USA Trucks West-East chase, has all been won by Trevor Ventures. No gimmicks, no nothing. It was all just them taking the wins. Trevor Vaden, I think, ended up with 5 of the first 9. So we're down to the final race in the USA Trucks chase. And honestly, if I don't see a points battle worthy, I might just sim the race without broadcasting it as well. Points I'll have to get tallied up here soon, and it'll all make sense once the points are tallied. I won't really have time to tally today as I'll have other chores that I have to tackle around home. So had the opportunity to get this race in early, hopefully get more people a chance to watch it here in the earlier day. Pit stops already on lap 76. Wow, DeBlank bunch, they're on the undercut this time. Dalton Scott, he's going to stretch it a little longer. We saw how the undercut worked last time, so this could be a big pivot for Al Bunch and Brian DeBlank. Braden Varga as well. So 3 of your title contenders undercut on Dalton Scott here. They're going to have to hope there's not a caution to throw this off, but it looks like we're going to stay green as Dalton Scott now comes down pit road to make his pit stop. Bradley Ream right there behind him. We'll keep our cameras on Dalton as he will rejoin the race line now. Taking that overcut approach from his previous undercut approach. The only difference is he had the lead this time, so he was able to kind of change it up on the fly. Wow, look at that. Al Bunch jumps to the lead here. So not much of a loss there for Dalton Scott. He falls back to third from first, back to third. Where is DeBlank? DeBlank had a bad pit stop and lost some ground. Looks like Bradley Ream and Cooper Dwight both stretching it out on him. So Al Bunch, your new leader. Tom Cording. Ewan Wood Army and Dalton Scott. Followed by Bradley Ream, Cooper Dwight, and Brian DeBlank. Now up into the top 10, you've got the 9 of Braden Varga. Trying to make that hard charge through the field here today. If you looked at his stock portfolio here today, that little line would not do much dropping down. It's pretty much been a straight line forward up to the top of the chart. So good day for Braden Varga so far. It's, I think, been helped by the fact that they've stayed green the whole time. And that actually looks like they might be running 8th and 9th. Yep, once the rest of the pit stops cycled out there. Braden Varga 9th, Jimmy Logano 8th. And your 10th place driver is Chaz Chadwick. Wow, Dalton Scott and Ewan Wood Army throwing fists there. Dalton almost landing a haymaker. Wood Army has to let him by. Ooh, and Tom Cording taking the lead from Al Bunch here. Things are getting a little bit interesting as the battles are brewing. Well, Brian DeBlank gets up to 6th here, getting around the 41 of Cooper Dwight. Still running 8th is Jimmy Logano, 9th Braden Varga, 9 in the 9th position. DeBlank, man, all he's got to do is hold on to that position for the rest of the race here today, and he would be solid. Wow, new fastest lap goes out to the 38 of Monty Shangle. Somewhere during this run, it seems that the 38 found the fastest lap on track. And he's all the way back in 30th, so nail a fast lap. He's going to have to climb hard from the back. He is a past winner here at Indianapolis, so it is very possible that he's figuring it out in the long run here. It would not be unusual to see him charge through the field here today. Well, right now, Tom Cording doing what he must to hold off a hard-charging Al Bunch. As has already been highly notified here today, Al Bunch needs a little bit of luck. He's going to need his other 3 competitors pretty much finish outside the top 30. And an Al Bunch win with as many points possible. Max points could be lead laps here today. And who knows if the hard charger award could potentially go to someone within the top 10. More than likely not. You'd have to have everyone finish right about where they started, which is not likely to happen at all. So Al Bunch not possibly going to get that hard charger award, but strange things have happened before. Why we award a hard charger award, because usually there is someone that starts deep in the field, survives the day, that meticulous, picking them off one by one by one, and eventually they come up and improve their finish result greatly from where they started. And Braden Varga is definitely looking at possibly doing that. I wouldn't have expected him to sandbag potentially to get that, but I think he probably knew that pole position was going to be harder to get max points here today. So when you weren't able to focus on pole speed, if your car was off in qualifying, it wasn't going to be the end of the world, as that could change the whole scenario in this championship hunt. It definitely is kind of the lull in the racing action as we're 90 laps in without a caution. No brakes, no slowdown for these drivers. They're going full throttle nonstop since the green flag dropped. Dalton Scott in third, Ewan Army fourth. There you go, Brian DeBlank up to fifth, doing what he must to keep that title in his name. And Braden Varga now up to eighth, getting around the likes of Jimmy Logano there. So all four title contenders in the top 8. Absolutely anything can happen. Al Bunch, he's wanting to try and take this lead away from the 50. Laps led right now for the 50 of Tom Cording is at 15. Al Bunch also has led 15. Dalton Scott with a grand total of 56. Ewan Army has 3 and Brian DeBlank with 1. That's all your lap leaders so far in the top 5. And we're closing in on halfway. About 20 laps from halfway here. And does that change a driver's approach with pit stops? When you hit the halfway point, do you approach it as you would approach the first half? Maybe break it right down the middle. Get off strategy a little bit would not be the end of the world. If you're not on the winning strategy, sometimes getting off of the dominant strategy works wonders, so we'll see. These two have definitely broke away from the rest of the field. They are on a lap of their own at the moment. Dalton Scott still in third, One Army in fourth. DeBlank falls back to sixth. The spot keeps swapping hands between the top 3 cars in the fight for fifth. Ooh, Jimmy Logano gets back by Braden Varga. So next round of pit stops will definitely be a telling sign on the second half direction of this race for most of our contenders. Next round of pit stops are likely to start happening about lap 105. So in about 10 laps, that is. Al Bunch, he's not able to get around Tom Cording. Tom Cording found the lead and is not looking back. So 81 struggling to get around the 50 here. Man, it's amazing. We're still 0 cautions here today. No cautions, no yellows. Everything has stayed green since lap 1. Well, we got 101 laps in, 119 to go. Tom Cording, your leader. Al Bunch in second. Still running in third, it's Dalton Scott. Fourth, Ewan What Army. Fifth, Bradley Reams. Sixth, Brian DeBlank. Seventh, Cooper Dwight. On the move, though, you got 8th place, Jimmy Logano, and 9th place, Braden Varga, closing the gap there. Taden Bergeron, Chaz Chadwick, Carson Bowers. Wow. How about Taden Bergeron? This is a very stellar running out of that 43. We've seen some good runs from him. He's still winless in the Sigma Cup Series, seeking that first career win. Eventually it'll come. And it seems like he's got a knack for some super speedway-esque racing, and that 43 looks stout. Next round of pit stops will be coming here in about 5 laps, so strategies will get shaken up yet again. It's blistering paces that we're turning here today at Indianapolis, the Brickyard. Caution free through the first half of the race. That's very unusual. Doesn't happen very often that we go caution free at Indianapolis ever. So halfway through, they still have a second half of the race to keep it that way. And we'll see. It's impressive. The fan vote so far is leaning towards Dalton Scott. So majority of the viewers right now believe that Brian DeBlank will have some form of mistake here today that gives Dalton Scott the needed advantage to outpoint Brian DeBlank. As it sits right now, Brian DeBlank still your championship leader here in the race. He's got to finish within the top 11. If he falls back to 12th, Dalton Scott would have to win the race and still secure lead most laps here today for those bonus points to keep Brian DeBlank from getting the title. But it's not how it's going so far. Actually, quite the contrary. Al Bunch is looking to try and win the race, while Dalton Scott sits in third. If any of those other three have a mechanical gremlin here, Al Bunch is sitting peachy. Lap traffic's going to factor in. That does not happen at Indianapolis almost ever. So that means that cautions could become a factor here once you got the fast cars closing in on the slow cars. Man, they have stretched it out nearly a full straightaway advantage on Dalton Scott. Holy cow. Fastest lap still belongs to Monty Shangle, who's deep in the field here. '27th to be precise. I know for Tom Cording, this could be a big win. A pivotal win that could hopefully decide the future of this 50 seat for next year. It's been up in the air a little bit. Tom Cording or Tim Cording, maybe someone else completely, but rest assured they'll get something figured out, especially if this 50 gets the win here today. It might not look very far from who's sitting in the seat right there. The Vintage Truck Series next year is going to make things interesting, and I know for a fact I think Tim Cording is going to commit to that ride. But there's nothing saying they can't commit to the Vintage Trucks and the Cup Series simultaneously. So the Vintage Trucks I am feeling as kind of a spin-off series altogether. And there's a good chance that I might pre-record those and just release them around the holidays when they make sense. With my schedule kind of shrinking up a little bit, I'm going to have to adjust some of the stylings of the broadcast coverage. But rest assured, it'll be run one way or another. Always been trying to hope to improve the production value as we continue along. Here comes the 22 of Trevor Walker, lap down car, getting back by Tom Cording. Good run by Al Bunch now. Could potentially get him back within striking distance of the lead. Alrighty, next round of pit stops here on lap 112. Al Bunch is going to stay out, take the overcut this time. Also on the overcut, you got Dalton Scott. Very early pit stop for Tom Cording, it seems, is Brian DeBlank on the overcut. Braden Varga on the undercut. So pitting early here for Braden Varga could gain him some more momentum. Obviously, they're going to want to see this thing stay green as to not get trapped on pit road here. Al Bunch, we'll watch him for now and see when his pit stop comes. There we go. Al Bunch coming down pit road on lap 113. Next lap around, followed by Dalton Scott, Ewan Wood Army. Don't see Brian DeBlank in the picture yet, but I'm sure he'll be coming as well. Yep, there you see him coming down pit road. Well, Tom Cording with the undercut comes back out with the lead here again. We've got our first caution here today. Wow, that took 150 laps. First caution. Let them get sorted up next to the pace car here. We're under caution for the first time. It took us a whole hour and 40 minutes to get the first caution of the day. Oh, some folks had not pitted yet. 95 is still out. Oh, wow. So, yeah, no, it's going to get interesting now. So we'll find out why we're under caution here. Let's check that real quick. So Belafon running in 15th. You got Louis Trost right behind her in the number 29 car. And might be someone exiting pit road that causes this wreck. Let's see. 42's already got some noticeable damage. You got people merging onto the racing line from their pit stops here. 42's going around the 34. 29's giving her a push. How does this happen? Okay. Oh, whoa, whoa. The 42 tries to cut way low on Maggie Reams, and that spins her out. So the two gals get at it. Oh, Kellen Relic, hard hit there. That's what put an end to her day. 87 was just exiting pit road with nowhere to go. That's how that happened. So 2 more retirements here today. That means the worst anyone can finish is 38th. Tom Cording, your leader, and then your title contenders all running. 2nd of Al Bunch, 3rd of Dalton Scott. Ewenwood Army's not in the title hunt. He's running 4th. Braden Varga in 5th. And then Brian DeBlank in 7th. Oh, it looks like we got a mechanical failure there on Tasha Wright. Brake failure on Tasha, so she's having to pull it off, go to the pits. Hopefully that's not any bad indication for the rest of the KBM crew. From 13th there, she's got a brake failure. We'll see if that's fixable or if it's a retirement on the day. This could get chaotic here now, as we just got past halfway. First caution in the race on lap 115. We're going to get the green flag with 102 laps to go here today. And your title contenders are all in the mix. Doubled up for the restart. It could get a little bit hairy. You never know how chaotic it could get here today. And this is why we run 550 miles here at Indianapolis, because it just seems like even at the, that was 250 miles roughly, the distance that we just ran. If we would have went 250 miles without a caution, then what would have been the big topic of the day? There wasn't much racing past the caution. This at least gives us another fair shake here to see who has a car that can stay within traffic once a caution comes out. Falling right in about the midway point, this makes things very interesting. And we're going to see everyone putting it in, trying to get the title on the line. One thing you can give Indianapolis credit for is usually things stay pretty clean and the best of the best come to the top. So regardless of what shenanigans might unfold here, it's still the best of the best fighting for the win here today. We're getting set for the restart. It's Tom Cording, Al Bunch, Dalton Scott, Ewan Wood Army, Braden Varga, Rich Roy, Brian DeBlank, and Cooper Dwight, your top 8. Inside line, Dalton, Braden, Brian, they're all right there. Al Bunch gets to restart on the outside. And we're off and rolling here for the restart past halfway. Al Bunch and Tom Corden drag racing down the front stretch. Tom Cording getting an edge there. Getting an edge in wise. And here comes Braden Varga. Holy cow. From 30th in the field, now he's up to 3rd. Talk about momentum. This kid's been on a tear. He wants to get the title. He's going to need a little bit of luck here today. Obviously, Dalton Scott is not doing him any favors. But Brian DeBlank up to the top 5 and Braden Varga into the top 3. This could get interesting. All 4 of your title contenders sitting 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Dalton Scott making a move on the inside of the leader, Cording. Dalton wants to get back to the lead where he once was. Cording gets hung up high to dry. Braden Varga 3rd. Brian DeBlank 4th. Al Bunch dropping like a rock. Brian DeBlank making the move on the inside of Braden Varga. As everyone's still kind of fighting for position. Oh, Brian DeBlank gave the number 9 a hard time there. Kind of run it in. Made him think he was going to hit him. Braden Varga has to recover. Fall back a spot. All in the meanwhile, it's Dalton Scott up front leading, trying to get that lead most lap bonus tied down. Braden Varga losing some ground as Brian DeBlank settles into third here. Well, Brian DeBlank still under attack here. Bradley Ream wanting to try and end the season on a high note. He might have lost the Rookie of the Year honor, but he still wants to go out with a great finish here at Indianapolis. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Your top two, Dalton Scott and Tom Cording, seem to be the stars of the show here today. Tom Cording trying to make a charge here on the 15, getting alongside of him. Whoa, and there was contact. He gave the 15 a bump. He's like, I don't care if you're in the hunt for the title. I want to go out with a win here today. As these two continue to stay side by side, that's going to allow the rest of the field to start closing that gap back up. They are on the edge of out of control here today. I mean, we have not seen very many wrecks, but there's a lot of close contact scenarios that could have turned into something bad. Only thing for Brian DeBlank, these restarts are going to be very high pressure, low reward kind of situations, because if they get side by side, that only increases his chances of getting wrecked here today. And the last thing he needs is to get involved in a wreck not of his doing. So the more cautions we get, the more uncomfortable the situation at hand becomes, because you're only putting yourself in unnecessary line of fire if something were to go wrong. Still with 96 laps to go. One caution here today. It took us over half of the race to get that first caution, so who's to say that we don't get another caution for the rest of the race now? You get the one and done, and you made your bed and you must lay in it kind of thing. 2, 3, 5, and 7 are your title contenders. Brian DeBlank, obviously the one that needs to finish outside the top 12. And Dalton Scott doing everything he needs to. If Brian DeBlank were to have a mechanical failure right now, Dalton Scott would be your champion. These two are giving it their all. There has only been 2 occasions where the championship winner has won the race here at Indianapolis, and that has been way back in 2012 with Monty Shangle and 2023 with Atlee Weiss. Could we potentially see the 3rd iteration of the champion winning the final race of the season? Brian DeBlank's made it up to 2nd here, and he's hunting down Dalton Scott. Oh, Tom Cording making a move on Brian DeBlank there. DeBlank stays high. Tom Cording gets by. Probably a valid move, not to put up too much of a fight. Don't want to get risked getting turned around there by the 50, fighting for a position. So he settles back into fourth as Tom Cording tries to chase down Dalton Scott. Your top 8 are all right there. You could throw a blanket over them. One thing that Dalton Scott is not able to do is get away from the rest of these drivers. They keep closing the gap back up. So Dalton, not with the fastest car here on this run, it seems, because the ebb and flow is keeping him right there with second, third, fourth, and fifth. What could be a wild trend here, because the fact of the matter is Braden Varga won at Talladega. We're rolling in on a 3-race stretch of KBM winning, with Tasha winning the previous 2 races to the Talladega race that Braden Varga won. So Dalton was the last one not to win. If you take Dalton out of that, Braden Varga and James Fireball Robert won the other 2 races before that. So 3 races before that. Braden Varga, James Fireball Robert, Braden Varga, Dalton Scott. And then Tasha Wright, Braden Varga, and whoever wins here today could be another KBM win. And that would end off the season with 4 wins for one team. KBM alone has had 13 wins this season, which trumps even that of Kellen Relic Racing or anyone else that's had a lot of wins this year. Dalton alone, a solo single car team, has 8 wins for his team. KBM has been the #1 team this season all around. So, oh, that's getting a little bit hairy. Braden and the 40 are trying to get around Brian. Oh, yeah. So a little bit of a hold up there. Brian DeBlank's dropping backwards. Braden Varga right on his back bumper. Brian kind of chop blocked the 9, and he forced the 9 to get stuck up on the high side. That's going to drop Braden Varga backwards. So high level IQ move there on Brian DeBlank to kind of chop block the 9 into the high lane, keeping him there as he's able to drive away from that pack. Well, led most laps here today, is very close to being locked up. Dalton Scott at 67 laps led. Tom Cording at 42 as we're down to 87 laps to go. If Dalton Scott leads for the next 30 laps, he'll have it tied up. But Tom Cording's right there, and he could jump to the lead and take more laps led and possibly even tip the scale in his favor. That's impressive. We got a new face in the top 5. That's the 40 of Carson Bowers, who's going to be coming here next year full-time in the Cup Series, driving the number 12 for DXP competition. Him and Cooper Dwight making the transition to a full-time Cup career. Be interesting to see what they are capable of in 2026. The 40 will switch over to the number 12, which has been Carson Bowers' dominant personal number, and Cooper Dwight will stick with the 41, which has been his go-to number for all the years too. Well, Braden Varga has fallen back to 11th here for the moment. Oh, Bunch, he sends the 50 up the track there. Al Bunch gave the 50 a shot in the left rear bumper. He ain't messing around. He wants to get back to the lead and keep Dalton Scott from leading the most laps here today. Apologies, I was away cooking up a lunch meal here. And we're under caution for the second time here today. My bad for stepping away there, folks. It looks like this caution might be for the 14 of Kevin Xavier. At the time was running in 30th. Oh, the 45 of Tyler Aspinall and him just make connection there. Spins him out and will bring out the caution here. Let me go get my lunch and I'll be right back. So yet again, cautions are definitely not the friend of many of these drivers. They don't want to see the cautions. They kind of want to see this race continue onward without too many more stoppages. But Brian DeBlank definitely the biggest of the ones not wanting to see any more cautions here today, as his struggles could turn into a monumental. It could get bad if he gets in a wreck here. So currently leading the race, it's Dalton Scott, who is just about to tie up led most laps here today. Al Bunch in second, Bradley Ream third, Carson Bowers, Brian DeBlank, Jimmy Logano, and Braden Varga. Then you've got Tom Cording, Louis Trost, and John Hagan up into the top 10. So that puts us under caution for only the second time here today. Leading them to the restart, it's going to be Dalton Scott and Al Bunch. Who's going to get the good start here? Is it going to be Al Bunch or is it going to be Dalton Scott on the inside? Then you've got Brian DeBlank and Braden Varga lined up nose to tail with each other. What can they make happen from 5th and 7th? Pace card pulled off. They're getting in the restart zone. Here we go. Back in racing on lap 148. Al Bunch with a slight edge on the outside. Rolling into the turn. Dalton Scott's going to have the advantage on the inside. Dalton takes back over the top spot. Bradley Ream up to second. Brian DeBlank giving him a good push. Braden Varga following right down the line on the inside there. Brian DeBlank's going to give the 78 all he's worth. The 78's going to hold on to second, though, and start hunting down Dalton Scott in the lead. Braden Varga seems to have troubles on the longer run. The initial starts aren't half bad for him, but he's fallen back to 5th already, right behind Al Bunch. Bradley Ream takes the lead away from Dalton Scott. That's going to open the door for Brian DeBlank to get up to second here. Dalton Scott loses the lead, and the doors are wide open now. Braden Varga on the move now up to 4th. Al Bunch falling backwards. Still going to be some pit stops that need to be made here today. So by far not done with those pit stops. And who knows if we're even done with all the cautions, because it seems like we've gotten more cautions in the second half now than we did in the first half. Brian DeBlank is running Bradley Ream down. short-lived, but Brian DeBlank showed that he'd get back up to the lead and take that top spot. We got smoke ahead of us. Number 10. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Damn. What a hit. Hard hit for the 10 of Jordan Walker. No caution comes out. But definitely not a pretty sight for the 10 of Jordan Walker. Staying out there, it looks like he's going to come down pit. That car needs a little bit of service. Whoa, Braden Varga gets up to second. How in the world did that happen? So now Braden Varga hunting down Dalton Scott for the lead. Well, Dalton Scott has led most laps here today, so that will make that goal for Braden Varga impossible to reach. Braden Varga max points here today is also 212 points to potentially catch Brian DeBlank. But there's still a lot of domino pieces. Obviously, the hard charger award may or may not go to Braden Varga, but it could go a long ways from his qualifying position and kind of erase Brian DeBlank's pole position bonus. Basically what that means, all the bonus points that are happening is Al Bunch is in a must-win scenario, and he's going to need all three of them to finish 35th or worse. Al Bunch's chances are slim to none at the moment, but obviously weird things could happen. You never know. You can't count them out until the last lap is counted here. 3 wide with your points leader, Brian DeBlank, in the middle. Brian DeBlank's, oh, spinning out, getting spun out. No way. No. Oh. I was going to say something to Brian DeBlank about not being so pessimistic, but holy crap. The demise is too much. I mean, holy crap, guys. If you've got the bad luck genetic, you've just got the bad luck genetic. There's a wreck after the wreck. What all's going on? Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Everything was a little bit out of control there. 95 gets into the 81 of Al Bunch. That was all during the same transition of wrecks from here. Third caution of the day, and it's for one of our title contenders, the 85 of Brian DeBlank. 3 wide with Wyatt Wilkinson, Bradley Ream. I feel like DeBlank should be fine. The damage ain't gonna be too substantial, but it just made this title hunt. It made this title hunt turn upside down in a jiffy. Wow. Alrighty, coming out of the pits here, you got Dalton Scott leading over Carson Bowers, Braden Varga, Taden Bergeron, Tom Cording, Cooper Dwight, Lewis Tross, Tyler Shangle, Wyatt Wilkinson, your top 10 it looks like. And then you've got Andre Stefan, Chaz Chadwick, Lynn Farrell, John Hagan, Jacob Shangle, Nate Newman. Then you got Ewan Wood Army, Maggie Reams, Monty Shangle, Tasha Wright, Gannon Bird, Rich Roy, Guido Piano, Eli the Wolf. Wow, Trevor Walker, Tyler Aspinall, Al Bunch. This is about your top 30 right now. You can see the damage on Al Bunch's car after getting crunched into the wall. Brian DeBlank is going to restart in about 37th place. He's going to have to come all the way through the field now. Oh boy. So, Brian DeBlank had the title under his belt there for the entirety of 165 circuits here today. And getting stuck in the 3 wide situation there forced him into a mistake. Not of his doing. Wyatt Wilkinson, a rookie, as well as Bradley Ream, 3 wide around him. Now Dalton Scott leads the way and leads the title. Still a lot of racing here. 55 laps to go. You got Braden Varga right there in the picture. Dalton Scott has found a way to get led most max points here today. It's not out of the possible that Dalton Scott gets himself into a mistake here and Braden Varga can pounce on the championship. So 2 guys left in the mix. For Brian DeBlank, his sights are going to be set on getting up to 11th place. If he can finish this race in 11th, he is your champion. He'll be restarting 35th after getting spun out there. Car looks alright. Might be a little rough for the wear. We'll see if he can climb his way back through. He's going to have the 28 of Jimmy Logano starting right behind him. We've seen him with a fast car today as well. Fastest lap during that last stint switched its hands over to Dalton Scott. So Dalton Scott with your fastest lap leading the race. It's a matter of time before we get that repeat champion. Dalton might be the one, but we'll see. Alrighty, I'm all done with my lunch, and now I'm in for the call for the final 54 laps of this race here today, folks. Buckle down and lock in. We're going to be in to the final run here. Going to be at least one more pit stop necessary for these leaders, but should be a good run to the finish. The championship picture changes drastically here after that caution. Throws Brian DeBlank back in the background. We'll try to keep an eye on him as well as our leaders. Braden Varga, he had the monumental hill to climb. His current setting is 3rd in the points, 138 points back, so it was not insurmountable. One of his 3 targets, well, technically 2 targets because Al Bunch has been behind him in the points. One of his 2 targets has fallen by the wayside, so now he's going to need that second target to fall by the wayside to take this championship. Dalton Scott has not shown any sign of weakness here today. He's led most laps. Will Braden Varga be able to stump that? Meanwhile, let us bounce back to the back. Brian DeBlank, he's already gained 2 spots since the start, so showing that his car is not gravely wounded, he can still make passes. This fight for the championship is far from over, folks. Keep your eye on the 85 as much as you are the leaders, because he could still find his way up to 11th here today with a little bit of help. His car is not slow by any means, no slouch. But the laps are going to start working against Mr. DeBlank here as we're down to 50 laps to go next time by. So far, the fan vote has leaned in the direction of Dalton Scott, of course, but only one person has given their vote of approval for Braden Varga, even though Varga is sitting second right now in what would be second in the championship. With a Dalton Scott boo-boo, Braden Varga would be your champion. Just like that, Carson Bowers working his way around Braden Varga. Tom Cording takes the low side, and Louis Trost making an impressive statement here today. The 29 has not had a great season, but he wants to try and get a top 5 here today at Indianapolis. Dalton Scott starting to stretch it back out again. The only thing he might have to worry about is lap traffic somewhere down the line. Now, Brian DeBlank, that speed starting to kind of plateau, it looks like. He's not able to get around Trevor Walker and Al Bunch at the moment. Still sitting 34th. Al Bunch, I think it's safe to say that Al Bunch's day is about over. Even Brian, Brian DeBlank's like bulldozing his way through the field now. He is driving with fury. And rightfully so, when you had the title right there within grasp and getting spun out with 3 wide for nothing. I mean, you're just trying to hold on to a top 10 at that point. You got spun out in the middle of a 3 wide wreck, not a your doing. Here you are now in 34th without the title in hand. And your number 1 contender leading the race right now in Dalton Scott. Mechanical failures do happen though. And then another caution already. Well, now we got caution fever, folks. It is going to be a wreck fest to the finish here today. This is what Brian DeBlank needs now. So where it was he didn't need the cautions, now he kind of needs the cautions to help get himself back in the mix. Hopefully this doesn't involve Brian DeBlank in a wreck. Cam Jordan's losing ground here. '95 Fireball's flying in there. Fireball just blows through the 91, spinning him out there. Brings out our 4th caution of the day. Since that's a quick and easy one to clean up, we're going to go ahead and drop the pace laps here today under this 4th caution so we can get back to racing as soon as possible. Alrighty, lights are off on the pace car. And the internet's gonna shit out on me now too. What the hell? Slight blip in the internet, but it looks like it's getting back. Hopefully we, man, yeah, it's a long race here today, folks. We're already at the 2-hour, 43-minute mark. So the fact that my internet hasn't committed seppuku yet is impressive. And we only have 47 laps left to go. So pardon the ratchetness as the internet clips in and out here, but looks like we're going to keep rolling the stream. Not completely lost. Dalton Scott, Tom Cording lead them to the restart here. Alrighty. In the restart zone, here we go. Tom Cording with the advantage on the outside. Dalton Scott with a slow start here. Dalton needs to be careful and not get stuck in a scenario just like Braden or Brian DeBlank got stuck earlier. If he gets dropped backwards into 3-wide traffic, that could spell trouble. Braden Varga struggling here on the restart. He falls back to 5th. Dalton not wasting any time. He's going to get by Tom Cording here. Carson Bowers on the inside. Braden Varga coming down low on the inside. And we got Wyatt Wilkinson in the mix. How about that? Wyatt Wilkinson right there in the mix. So Dalton leads. We need to know if Brian DeBlank can get back up to 11th here today. At the moment, Brian DeBlank picking him off. Little by little. He's all the way up to 27th now. This is going to be the drive of a lifetime for that number 85 team. Still, pit stops are going to be a factor here, so everyone's going to have to come in for fuel and tires before the end of this thing. And that can kind of factor in to the game plan here a little bit. The one guy that's out of the mix completely is Al Bunch. It looks like his car got crunched a little too hard during that previous caution that he saw. Yeah, 11th ain't far away. I mean, he's within, you know, a turn or corner of getting back into the top 11. Lap traffic with Dalton Scott now. Is Dalton Scott going to have trouble getting through the lap traffic here today is the big question. 10 is not helping make things easy for Dalton here. Is not really letting up, not really moving aside. The 15 had to give it his all to just get around the 10 there. Oh, and look at Braden Varga coming right on the low side. He's going to blow through, give a bump to the 15. He knows that the only way he's going to get this championship is by ruffling some feathers. He thought about it. He didn't dump the 15, but you could see it there. The opportunity had presented itself. Steered clear of making the controversial move, and he's still running second to Dalton Scott. Down to 42 laps to go. And that'll open up pit windows more than likely for the final push here. Anyone that needs to can start pitting with about 38 to go. Oh, and another caution. Bradley Ream involved in another wreck here today. Brian DeBlank's in the picture here. Brian DeBlank's in the picture. 3 wide. It's a lot like Brian DeBlank's other accident. This time, whoa, DeBlank steers clear of that one. But that's why you don't want to be in the back. You don't want to be in the back with the squirrels. That's going to be a day ender for the 78 team. Well, no cautions for half the race, and now we cannot get through the end of this race fast enough. Takers down pit road with 41 to go. This is gutsy. They ain't going to have enough to make it on green-white checkers like that. So Dalton and Braden doing the opposite and staying out. This might be a knife in their back. Holy cow, why would you not pit? They must be expecting more cautions to fall, but I don't know how you can, unless they're going to pit next lap. Brian DeBlank with the #1 stall is going to be able to reap the benefits for one more stop here. I think that was a mistake for your top two to stay out. There's no way that that makes sense on any strategy call here. Well, here we go. Wyatt Wilkinson now looking to take the lead on fresh tires, full tank of gas. Dalton Scott holding the lead with old tires, minimal gas. Oh, there you go. Caution yet again. 6 cautions. Crew chief knew exactly what was going to happen here. We were not going to make it to the finish without another caution. So here we are under caution yet again. Ooh, 85's in the mix here again. Maggie Reams' car is totaled. Brian DeBlank's in the background there. What happens? 3 wide again. 3 wide in the middle of turn 2. It is the common denominator here today. They made it through turn 2. And they're going to roll into turn 3 at 3 wide. That's where the trouble happens here. Nate Newman, Tyler Shangle, they run out of real estate. Bam! Brian DeBlank gets a little bit more into it here. as long as he can continue soldiering on, this one will take a little bit longer to clean up here, folks. Wow. I mean, the fact that Brian DeBlank only took some damage in that is impressive. Al Bunch was knocked around like a pinball there. Bam, that hit by the 20 was brutal. Yep, this is where everyone's season's coming to a head. A lot of the drivers they're tired, wore out. It's been a long year. And yet some of the wrecks could be avoided here. It's going to keep it interesting all the way to the finish. Okay, so Dalton Scott had to pit. There was no way he was going to finish this race without stopping one more time. So Dalton Scott all the way at the back. Braden Varga all the way at the back. This swings back in the favor of Brian DeBlank. So, setting the field for the restart here today. It's going to be Chaz Chadwick with about 34 laps to go, Tom Cording, Andre Stefan, and Eli the Wolf, who had been near a lap down here at one point. Lucas Holmes, Lynn Farrell, Tyler Aspinall, Guido Piano, Rich Roy, and somehow Ewan Wood Army still with the top 10 run here today. Tasha Wright, Chris Harvey, Kevin Xavier. Oh, mechanical failure on the 29 of Tross. Man, Tross was having a great run, and he's going to have to retire with a mechanical failure, it looks like. Gannon Bird, Wyatt Wilkinson, Carson Bowers, Monty Shangle, Kara Shangle, John Hagan, your top 20. Title contenders, 24th, 25th, 29th, and 30th. So here's the problem. With all of your title contenders starting that deep in the field, that just puts them in the red zone. Putting them backwards with drivers that have been in wrecks here today. We're going to watch the restart with our top drivers here, but then we're going to jump to the back as soon as possible to watch our title contenders battling it through the field. They've got fresh tires, but the advantage is kind of depleted when you're stuck back in traffic. So do not know why they wouldn't have pitted. That seemed like a bonehead move to not pit with the entire field. I know they probably felt they couldn't make it to the finish, and they had a window that they were waiting until it opened up. They were going to wait till 36 laps left to go to make their pit stop and make it count. Because even now they may not have enough fuel to make to the finish if we get green-white checkers here today. So it's just one of the reasons why running 550 miles here at Indianapolis is always a treat. You never know how things are going to pan out. Braden Varga there duking it out with the damaged cars in the background. Dalton Scott, he's just shot out of a cannon. He's going to try to pick off every spot he can to get back up to the front. Restarted in 24th. It looks like he's probably already picked off about 4 cars to get up into the top 20. But Dalton could put himself in a 3-wide scenario that ends his day, just as we've seen a couple other drivers' days come to a screech. Just like that, up to 20th for Dalton Scott. Might not be in a position to win the race now, but definitely going to try. Tom Cording, I believe, is going to be your leader after this lap here. Wow, Lewis Trost had the fastest lap and then blew up. What a heartbreak. That fast lap has swapped hands a couple times here today. I'm amazed that Trost had a fast lap before. Maybe that's why the engine blew, is they had it dialed up a little too hot. You've seen that happen before, actually, within the last couple weeks. This final stretch of the season. It's not out of the realm of a Hail Mary miracle that Al Bunch could still figure out something here today. Obviously, he'd have to win. And if the entire field decided to just self-destruct, who knows? At the moment, though, I don't know the point scenario unless they're winning the race. Dalton Scott, I know, would have had to have won the race and have Brian DeBlank finish 12th. If you look at it that way, it might actually mean that Dalton's got to finish like a top 5 here on a bad race for Brian DeBlank. And I think we did look at that too, the possibility of a Brian DeBlank bad race. If Brian DeBlank gets 20 points, and I'm thinking he's probably going to get about 30 points. So Dalton Scott would have to get about a top 10 here with Brian DeBlank as far back as he is. Top 10 would be keeping it pretty close. 30 laps to go. Eli the Wolf now takes fast lap honors. We'll go ahead and bounce up to the front and see how they're doing. And it's still Tom Cording leading over Chaz Chadwick. Andre Stefan. Andre Stefan, a lame duck session. He won't be back in that ride next year. That seat is getting sold to the next available team that wants it. Lucas Holmes will be running full-time again next year. Eli the Wolf. Tyler Aspinall, Rich Roy. Tasha Wright. Ewan What Army. Ewan What Army is going to keep that average finish right on the 9 if he can bring it home in that position that he's running right there. Dalton Scott's all the way up to 16th already. Brian DeBlank, the damage is starting to show through. That car is not running as strong as it once was. 29th is still good for points here because the the what-if scenario I had was slated for 30th. Oh, we're caution again. Caution, caution, caution. And it looks like maybe John Hagan. Oh, and this was up in 26th right there. Whoa, DeBlank gets a kiss. Oh, boy. And I thought, yeah, we were just watching DeBlank. I don't know how we missed that one. Holy cow. Wow, just a kiss. And I think he even kept it off the wall. If DeBlank, for some way or another, does get this title, it is going to be one of the wildest titles in history of Sigma Cup. He's been through it all here today. He's led. He had pole position. He just gained about 2 more spots there, so that forces Dalton Scott's hand. Wow. Okay. If you're not entertained yet, I don't know what's going to entertain you with NR2003. Leaders are going to decide to pit here. Tom Cording and Chaz Chadwick. That's going to rotate Andre Stefan around to the lead. This in form brings Dalton Scott up a couple more spots. The more this the cautions keep coming out, the weirder the strategies are going to keep getting. Definitely seems like the AI have lost their brain now. Halfway, it's just gone way out the window here. Looks like the fan vote has shifted in the favor of a tie between Dalton Scott and Brian DeBlank. So everyone's kind of leaning more on DeBlank's side of getting this title now. Man, it's hard to pick who to watch. I want to watch the leaders up front, but at the same time, I kind of want to watch the championship contenders in the back. We'll watch long enough up here to see who gets the lead, but then we'll jump right on back to your title contenders. Braden gets a tough start there, it looks like, in the background. Andre Stefan getting the early lead. Eli the Wolf rolling into the turn with him. Dalton better be careful not to attempt any 3 wide scenarios here. That has been the undoing of many of our title contenders here today. Well, just like that, Dalton might be up into the top 12. Carson Bowers might look low here. Bowers is looking low. Dalton Scott stuck up high. He made it up into 10th, but now's where it gets hard. The other cars still want to have a good finish here today, and he ain't going to let Dalton get away with a good one. Here comes Braden Varga. Varga is going to take over the position. He needs to beat Dalton Scott by about 10 spots here today. So if Varga can get by Dalton and then drive away with it, hoping for some more misfortune on Dalton's end. We've had 7 cautions here. All of 7 came after the halfway point here today. Dalton has led most laps here today, so he's definitely secured a big bonus of points here. He's fallen in line right behind Braden Varga. Wow, Al Bunch still hanging in solid. Starting to come back through the field. I'm surprised. That car didn't seem to have the pace, but he's actually outrunning Brian DeBlank at the moment. DeBlank in 27th. Eli the Wolf up front leading over Tasha Wright. Well, Braden Varga is maintaining his advantage over Dalton Scott. With Braden Varga, he would have to get a top 5 over Brian DeBlank and his 27th place finish. Yeah. Braden Varga, 5th or better, and actually I would one-up that and say he probably needs to finish at least 3rd. While Dalton Scott also would have to finish outside of the top 15. So Tasha trying to close that gap up on Eli the Wolf. And the thing is, the great unknown is whether or not we get green-white checkers here today. There are some of these cars out here that will not be able to make it on a green-white checkered attempt. So Tasha and Eli are definitely 2 of those contenders that may not have the fuel. We've had enough caution breaks here that maybe they can, but it's definitely hard to say. Especially if you're up front leading like this, you might be burning through a lot more gas than you want to. Dalton Scott sits in 9th. That is enough to probably get close to tying or beating Brian DeBlank here today in the title. DeBlank still sitting in 27th as he's still running. His car, ooh, he drops back to 28th. My bad. Falls another spot there. So DeBlank's definitely going to need a little bit of help here now. Braden Varga, he needs to win this race and have Dalton finish 10th. .22 laps to go. The laps are ticking away. Dalton looking on the inside of Braden Varga. Varga does not want to do the dirty work, but I don't believe he'd be opposed to it either. See, here's the hard part. Knowing that Brian DeBlank got the pole position and lead laps, those erase the led most laps. So we're basically, right now, I think Dalton, it'll be close with a 9th place finish and a Brian DeBlank 27th or 28th. Dude, it might be a tie. We might be looking at a tie in the point standings if we were to drop the checkered flag right now. Yeah, the big battle here turns into Brian DeBlank trying to beat the 91 of Cam Jordan for 27th. Don't discredit or rule out the fact that we might have some more cars break, might have some more cars wreck in between those two drivers. So if anyone between 10th to 26th wreck or retire, that just gives Brian DeBlank another slot closer to Dalton Scott. As we know, Braden Varga and Dalton Scott should be clean and clear to go to the finish. Braden Varga, he's going to have to gain about 3 more spots to beat Brian DeBlank, but he's not able to beat Dalton Scott the way Dalton is running here. Oh, Tasha losing some ground. She's falling backwards here. She's back to 5th, 4th, as Eli the Wolf continues to lead out front. Rich Roy up to 2nd. Lynn Farrell running in 3rd. And that opens the door for your title contenders, Braden Varga and Dalton Scott. Well, based on the points now, Dalton Scott would almost certainly be your champion, getting up into the top 6 like he is. Ooh, Dalton took that high line, and that was a mistake. That'll open the door for you and what Army? Oh, that could have been 3 wide. Whoa, Dalton gets crowded there by the 90. Tasha was maybe hoping for a miracle here, but it's falling apart here with the faster cars on fresher tires moving up to the front. Yeah, for Braden Varga, Dalton Scott needs to have a mistake here. He's going to need Dalton to drop several spots back for him to get by Dalton. It's about 5 spots the gap, so wherever Braden finishes, he needs Dalton Scott to have 5 spots worse. Braden Varga sitting in 4th right now would be enough for him to topple Brian DeBlank with the lead. But now the lead has shifted, and Braden Varga has to battle Dalton Scott for that points lead. Jaguars have not been known to have a lot of mechanical failures this year, so Dalton Scott might be kind of breathing easy knowing with 15 laps to go, his 15 Jaguar might just be able to seal the deal. We've seen plenty of cautions here since the second half. We could see another. But even so, if we start seeing more cars drop off or another wreck happens and Brian DeBlank gets up into the top 20, these two need a win, not simply a top 5 to win it. DeBlank could get enough points to keep these two from taking the title with a 5th place finish. Braden's right there on the back bumper of the 69. These cars in front of them have older tires, and they're going to be holding up the traffic here. Dalton Scott has fresh tires with Braden Varga. These two know what they have to do. And Braden, I think, winning the race and having Dalton Scott finish 5th could be close. But with Dalton Scott's max points on lead laps here today, it might be hard. And for Braden, I don't know if passing these cars is a great, because the fact of the matter is Dalton Scott will just gobble them up too. So almost got to be meticulous about passing the traffic ahead of you and possibly put them in a scenario where Dalton gets bound up or struck down by the traffic you're racing around. Holy cow, Rich Roy going to the lead here with 13 laps to go. This is a rookie that has never won in the Sigma Cup Series. This is his maiden voyage as an owner driver, and they're going too wide for the lead. Braden Varga right behind them. Braden's going to stick up high with the Jaguar power, and that'll help Eli the Wolf hold that position for now. Dalton under attack, though. Here goes Tasha on the move. No, Dalton's going to get around the 9 of Braden Varga there, making a bold move late in the race. 12 laps to go. Braden lost it. Falls back to 5th. In the meanwhile, at the back half of the field, Brian DeBlank still running in 28th. Dalton didn't simply want to win the championship. He wants to win the race and win the championship. And with the strategy call, dropping him all the way back, it was risky, as it could have put him in a wreck. A few occasions they could have been part of a wreck that was not their doing, but has found their way back up to the front here. That 15 looks stout. That would be a wild way to book in your career, be the inaugural champion, and then close it out in your final season of racing. Not very often do you get a Peyton Manning move where you can go out there and win the championship in your final year. Dalton's had adversity. He's been an uncharted car all year. He's had to race his way in to every main event, and he's missed some races because of that. Well, rolling in today, still 5 races that he missed on the season was not going to be enough to keep him out of the title hunt. He knew rolling into today that all it took was an opportunity. Has a shot. He has to, deliver. He can't just show up and run half throttle here today. He had to go out there and try to lead most laps. He had to go out there and try to out-strategize the rest of the field. And it looks like he's going to do just that. As we're down to 10 laps to go here in Indianapolis, he's found his way back around Braden Varga. He's gotten past Eli the Wolf for the lead. A Jaguar, basically a Jaguar affiliated teammate there. And here we are. We're down to single digits here today. 9 laps to go. Brian DeBlank had what it took. Bad luck sprung and snapped it away from him. Even with the Dalton Scott win, though, and 9 laps to go, there's no telling if we get another caution here what could unfold. 7 cautions on the day, all of which came after the halfway point, is quite an anomaly, honestly. The fact that we went caution-free and then couldn't go without a caution for the second half here today. Eli the Wolf might not be done here. He might not want to be sitting idly by in second place. He would love to end his season with a high. Try to get his first career win in the Sigma Cup Series. And for Braden Varga, that would be his best case scenario, is if the 94 got to roughing it up with the 15 and Jaguar teammates took each other out. He could pounce, take the lead, take the title. That, at this point, with 8 laps to go, is the only way that Braden Varga could foresee a championship. He's doing enough to take over second in the points. Brian DeBlank falls back to 3rd. Al Bunch will be your 4th place in the point standings by the end of tonight. Braden Varga getting around the 94. A little late to be making moves for the win here. Dalton Scott starting to drive away with it. Definitely a wild transition here at the end of this race. Fact of the matter is, Brian DeBlank was the big upset with him getting spun out with the the championship lead tied up. It's been pretty light on the mechanical failures here today at Indy. Getting towards the end of the 550 miles. You never know if we might see some attrition start to factor in here. We did claim a couple. We saw the 29 of Lewis Trost with a great run here today, and he fell by the wayside. Five laps to go from the Brickyard. Braden Varga, he could still win this race, but would lose the championship by about Dalton Scott 5 spots to the good. Dalton Scott could potentially become the first ever multi-champion in the series, and also the third driver potentially to win the race and win the title, which doesn't happen very often. He kind of had to show up here today and put on a show to win it and win the title. Lap traffic will factor in here. Brian DeBlank could factor in as well. Dalton's going to go low on the 28. He's held up by the 28. The 9's going to try to go around the outside. Sticks low. Making quick work of the lap traffic. Dalton Scott gets through the 28, the 20, and now working on the 88. Braden Varga's right there, though. He's going to try to catch up to the back bumper of the 15. He's got to take matters into his own hands if he wants a title, but do you really do that? 3 laps to go this time by. Well, the good thing for the rest of the field, they know that Dalton Scott's hanging up the hat at the end of this year. That means they are not going to have to deal with beating him week in and week out anymore. This will be the last time that Dalton Scott gets to put an ass whooping on the field. And the rest of the field might be okay with that. They might have to worry about Al Bunch starting to whoop ass again. But here we are with just 2 laps to go. Braden Varga in second, Dalton Scott your leader. Those are your 2 title contenders that have the best shot right now. If Dalton Scott blows an engine within the final lap here, if we get a caution, you never know what the restarts might be like. So far, caution free on this last run. Just a couple laps left to go. Dalton Scott's got the lead. Should have enough fuel, should have enough of everything in the tank to make this thing go to the finish line. Tasha makes it up to third here. Wyatt Wilkinson fourth as the 50 drops way back. And you do have some takers heading down pit road here. That gives Brian DeBlank some more spots. DeBlank now gains about 2 spots, maybe 3, maybe more, as you got people that are pitting at the end of this race. And so a Dalton Scott win, like I said, in a minimal points day, pretty much Dalton's 15th or better reigns true. But there you go. White flag. One more lap to go. Doesn't look like we're going to get no caution. White flag waving. One more lap to go for Dalton Scott. Well, with all the shenanigans and chaos, there's one thing I know for sure. It's not over until it's over. And we can't make anything official until after the points are tallied. But, tentatively, Dalton Scott rolling around turn 4 here. With what should be a race win here today, should be enough to get him the championship. He's going to hold off Braden Varga and the rest of the field to get his 9th win here in 2015. Capping off a illustrious career here in the Sigma Cup Series. His best season to date. Wins in his final start. 9 wins on 42 races this year is a stellar performance. Braden Varga, your Rookie of the Year, bringing it home 2nd and possibly 2nd in the points. Wyatt Wilkinson brings it home 4th. Looks like some folks ran out of gas on line. Tasha ran out of fuel and finished 3rd there on the last lap. Brian DeBlank is able to make it up to 26th? Yeah, 26th. 26th is going to be not ideal. Yeah, everyone's running out of gas on the cool down lap here, so everyone gave it their all here today. Brian DeBlank brings it home 26th. Is that going to be enough? He too looks like he's run out of gas, coasting around the bottom of the track there. I'm like 90% sure that Dalton Scott is your 2025 champion here. We will get the points squared away without too much delay here today. Mad credit to Wyatt Wilkinson on a top 5 finish here today. Tasha Wright soldiering it home for a 3rd, even with the fuel numbers being stretched thin. Al Bunch brings it home 17th. DeBlank 26th. And Braden Varga, Dalton Scott, your top 2. Dalton Scott had to make it dramatic there. Had to decide to pit when no one else expected to pit, and it was definitely a race for the ages there. And that is a wrap too for a season of racing. It's been a long year, folks. It's been a fun year. We were approached with a lot of parity. Had a lot of varying storylines throughout the year, and it's only going to make next year that much more exciting. Three hours, 35 minutes, the duration of the race here. Dalton Scott earned that one today. He had to work hard. He had to prove that he was in it to win it. And ultimately took the 9th victory of the season. So stay tuned, folks. I'm going to get the points tallied right at the end of the broadcast here. I'll do a formal announcement on the server. Brian DeBlank is not necessarily out of the woods because 212 points was the max that could be gotten by Dalton today. Well, 212, if 186, let's do that math real quick. 212 minus 86. 126 points the gap. So basically, yeah, no, I think we pretty much lock it in that Dalton is your champion. It would have been different if Braden Varga took the lead there on the last lap and stole some points away, but ultimately Dalton was the closest and just needed to win here today and hope for a bad finish on Brian DeBlank, and that is exactly what happened. So I am with certainty here able to claim that Dalton Scott is your 2025 champion. He bookends his career with a 2010 championship to a 2025 championship, becoming the first ever Sigma Cup champion to win 2 career championships. Well, that's it, folks, for this year. We are getting into the silly season, the off season, and we're going to be making sure to get prepped and ready for the next one, whatever that picture might look like. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support, for tuning into the broadcasts, and really, really excited to see where we go from here. Don't know how much it means. It's very much appreciated that you guys even give me the time of day. So have a great weekend. Have a great holiday season. Stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Jakester signing out.